It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah,
Yeah, Liz has been having fun, so just take our word for it.
Yeah, Liz is doing great.
My source
Right.
is trust me, bro.
It's your hazy. Check again later.
Hope everybody's doing okay out there. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy? Liz?
Oh, man. I think my corner of the galaxy, blew up or something. Full moon, retrograde, or whatever the hell they say. Oh, Lord.
She all-around the shit out of it.
Right.
All the wrong places.
Oh, man.
That too.
I feel like I've opened Pandora's box, you know. Oh, man. I really haven't done a lot. I say that. I mean, I've been doing a fucking shitload of running, but the only thing interesting I've done, which this is going to be really sad, the baby was watching TV the other day, and we were kind of flipping because we didn't like what was on, and Sonic came up. Now I'm from the '80s, I love me some Sonic, So I was sitting there watching it, and I noticed that it's not the Sonic I remember. It's not the video games and stuff I remember. It had it was a cool story and everything else, but it was totally different than anything I have seen Sonic do, even with movies and stuff. So, of course I had to look it up and figure out where it was at. Finished watching all of that just because I was, like I said, I got curious, but it's called Sonic Prime. Apparently it's been out for a few years. I don't know originally where it played. It's on Netflix now though. But it's like the multiverse for Sonic.
God.
Yeah. It started, and see, this is another thing that kind of got me trapped when we ran across this on TV. It just so happened to be the first episode for, season 1. So, yeah, But Sonic shatters a stone, which it winds up becoming the Shatterverse is what they're calling it. But it kind of split off into 5 different worlds. And he doesn't have his normal friends, which is Tails and Amy and Rogue, and I forget what the red guy's name is. But they did, but in one place, all of them were like pirates, but they didn't know who Sonic was, and it was like a pirate world. And then there was another one which was kind of like an apocalyptic New York almost, where Eggman was in control of everything. There was 5 of them in that world. And then there was another one, which was kind of like a jungle. And then one was the Green Hill, which, of course is where he came from and everything else, which never fully put back together. And then there was just another dead planet. So in all of this, like I said, it was pretty interesting and how they put the story together, but the animation style that they're using on this, I guess it is like CGI or, it is definitely computer animated. But with that style, you can also watch it and it looks pretty much like what would come out of a video game. Even one episode did start with the video game. So it was kind of like, I think they kept true to that. And some of these worlds they were in, we have seen them in video games. So it was kind of cool to see them in that world a little bit more than, what we got to see in the video game. But definitely, like I said, it was a cool series. I'm imagining this came out between the first movie and the second movie, just from the momentum it gained from that. I think now there's even a third movie, but it's decent. I mean, I went out of my way to watch it, but if you like that kind of thing, it's definitely one that it's a story that I got behind. I thought they handled it. I don't normally like that with the jumping around and that kind of stuff. And this guy's from Earth 225, but they made it where it was easy to follow. I mean, it's a kids show, so they definitely made it easy to follow. Where they were at and what was what. But what I thought was cool, which this is a spoiler, well, I won't spoil it, who wound up being the villain in all of this. I think that's what kind of got me hooked on, watching, because it made a twist there, and one of the good guys wasn't so good anymore, and it was like, wow. They would never do this in a video game, So it was pretty cool. It's like I said, nice little story. I think there's only 3 seasons, and I never felt like, oh wow, they're really dragging this one out. Everything kind of had a reason and a purpose, and the story really did move along pretty consistently. So it was an easy binge, couple of days. But other than that, I haven't really done anything fun.
I don't know. As rabbit holes go, that sounds like a pretty good one.
Right. Although, have you guys seen out at the Gaylord what they're doing out there? They've got a DC lantern show, and my niece and her husband actually walked through it and posted a bunch of pictures. It's really cool. I mean, I've been there when they did the Christmas thing where they have the ice sculptures that you walk through, and each room is something different and different theme and that kind of thing. But she said actually he did, you can buy a comic book right when you get there, and it's like an exclusive comic book just for this thing. $10, but you can go through the comic book, and the story moves you through each of the rooms and everything through there. But just some of the characters and things whoever did this did a really good job on it. I'm not sure, I guess I should have asked, but I'm not sure with them being lanterns if they're made out of like the fabric or if this is some kind of plastic. But to me, it looked more like a fabric because things weren't so boxy looking and stuff, how plastic can tend to be. But pretty neat. I think it's going to go all through the summer. I've been trying to talk Phil into going, and he won't. So.
Yes, good luck.
Right. I'll have to find someone else for that. But it looks really interesting. I'm kind of surprised because, like I said, they're known for doing their big thing at Christmas. So this was kind of a.
Got to fill the space the rest of the year too, right?
Yeah. Well, and I guess tourist season's really been hit hard. But on a positive note, I went as soon as I heard about it. It hadn't even started yet. And I went to check to see how much the rooms were and stuff to stay there. Now, you don't have to stay in a room. You can buy a one-day ticket and walk all the way through it. I think the one-day ticket's like $35. But I have a birthday coming up, so I was checking to see, how much one of the rooms would be and stuff, because I heard the hotel's gone all out for this. It's completely booked up. You cannot get a room for this summer.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's like, yep.
I mean, good for them, but.
Yep. Hadn't even opened yet. Which, of course, they have, Great Wolf Lodge right across the street from them. So if
Mhm.
you did want to stay close, there's plenty of options. But,
Right, and those are not the only hotels in that area.
right.
That's near the airport, so there's other places to stay.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, I thought that was really cool.
That is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so if you guys want to go.
Yeah, it goes from May 23rd to September 1st.
hmm
Cool.
And your birthday is when?
It's the 26th of this month. We can do it after. That'd be cool, too.
Universe of Light, featuring DC, the first ever DC superhero themed lantern show in the U.S. Nearly 30 iconic DC superheroes and villains in towering, handcrafted lanterns illuminated by cutting-edge LEDs. 12 immersive scenes.
Pretty cool.
Interesting.
hmm
Does look pretty cool.
The pictures I saw was like Lois Lane, Batgirl. I think Catwoman was in one of them. Harley, Joker, Batman, Robin, Superman, Wonder Woman.
It says it's silk.
Ah,
30 miles of silk and 200,000 pounds of steel.
wow. That's pretty impressive.
The biggest one standing 24 foot tall and 42 feet wide.
Huh.
That's cool. And since
One,
it is built the way it is, it almost gives you the comic book feel to it, like
yeah.
that style.
hmm Yeah, that's what it looked like. There's not a lot of pictures on their website, but there's a couple of them that are pretty cool.
hmm The one
Like
I saw, like Superman's like breaking down out of the ceiling, but the ceiling has like the comic panel around it, so it looks like it's coming right off the comic book page. I was like, that's pretty cool. I think he had the Daily Planet that was falling,
yeah.
the ball thing. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
And then yeah, there's exclusive merchandise, special edition comic book, and more one-of-the-kind items available at the gift shop. 17,500 square feet.
Yeah, I know the ice show. It took a good hour to walk through there and look at everything.
Oh, now that's cool.
Mm.
It's all I'm seeing right here looks like it's Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. There may be others. Outside a Hall of Justice, and they're battling Starro. The giant starfish.
Neat.
I'm not sure if I can pull his Facebook back up. Yeah,
Yeah, I want to go to this, man.
You might have just found somebody to go with you, Liz.
there we go. I said it looks really interesting. Definitely one of a kind. But it kind of reminded me of when we went to Colorado. Our friend there took us to called Meow Wolf.
Yeah.
And oh man, that place was like trippy. I mean, it was cool. I mean, but it was really trippy. And from the outside, it doesn't look like there's that much, But once you get in there and start going around and looking at everything and different levels and everything else, I bet we were there for a couple of hours, But it, yeah, it kind of reminded me of that with the
Wow.
looking. Yep. So yeah, like I said, it looked pretty interesting. I'm kind of jealous they got to go before I did.
And they didn't even call you.
Right.
Hours of operation is Saturday and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Wednesday through Friday at 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. They are closed Monday and Tuesday. So that's not a lot of hours.
Mm-mm. And doing tickets, I bet they only allow a certain amount at a time, that kind of thing. So it's not
Yeah, probably.
busting elbows kind of thing, you know.
And $15 for parking.
Of course.
Yep. But yeah, we ought to go check it out. That'd be pretty cool.
Hey, groups of 15 can save on tickets.
There we go. Mikey has a life. You got friends, right?
I don't know if I'd go so far as to say I have a life.
Right. Now, you told us we couldn't come by last weekend because you had all kinds of friends coming by.
That was different.
Was there 15?
That was family, and honestly, there might have been 15.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Does sound
Good.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I got.
Well, I am. While I am still intrigued by the idea of an animated Sonic the Hedgehog TV series with a plot,
Yeah, good one.
I mean, a show aimed at kindergartners, basically.
Mm-mm. I think if this came on broadcast TV, it would have been like the Teen Disney or the Teen, you know,
More
it's
than likely, yeah.
yeah. I forgot what channel we were watching it on though, to be honest. Probably was Teen Nick or
Maybe, but they found their target, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched a movie. Well, okay. There's kind of a story here. The deal is it's not the only movie. But it's a movie I've been curious about for a while, and I've finally tracked down a copy of one of the versions. The movie is called Gaslight. The version I tracked down and I found on YouTube is the 1940 version, which is the British release. It's based on a play from 1938. The other version, I'm interested in watching the other version of it, which is from 1944, and it's a Hollywood film. It's an MGM release, and it's the one that's actually better known, probably because it was from Hollywood and had a bigger release, and also won an Oscar, I believe, at least one. I think I read somewhere that was Ingrid Bergman's first Oscar. I would have to double check that. But again, I watched the British version. And so the story for this movie is a couple moves into a house in this little square in London. And one of the neighbors gets curious, and he's a former cop. And so he starts investigating the fact that the couple is just weird. And part of what's weird about them is that because we're actually inside there with the couple too. We're getting it kind of from both perspectives. But the guy is very manipulative with his wife, and she's not handling it well. Even by the time they move into this house, and the former cop is actually kind of a really cool, sympathetic character, because he's in it for two reasons. He's in it to solve a 20-year-old crime, and he's also in it to help this woman who is obviously losing her damn mind. But I don't want to go into too much spoiler about it. But the story here isn't necessarily the story. It's just sort of the way he treats her and all of that. And this is the movie. I mean, I guess it was both movies to an extent and the play, which is where the term gaslighting comes from. And this is a really interesting movie. This is a really good movie. Like I said, I'm interested in finding the Hollywood version to see how different it comes across, because what I'm reading about the British version is that it's actually closer to the play as far as sticking to the story. But this is I was surprised at how good this movie is. I expected it to be reasonably good, but it's actually surprisingly dark for the time period. I was not expecting it to be so kind of cruel and nasty given the time frame. I mean, I probably should have, given that it's 1940 and Britain's at war already at this point. But I would have really thought that they would have been putting a lot more emphasis on more upbeat stories in their movie industry at this point. This is not an upbeat story, but it's really surprisingly good. There's not anybody that I knew who stars in it, though there are some really good performances. I mean, the lady who plays Bella, the wife, she is really good. It's fun to watch an actor attempt to portray losing their mind. And because there's just so many ways you can do it. And she's clearly trying to hang on in this movie. And the actress does a really nice job of portraying that. The walking the fine, or being shoved over the fine line of sanity. It's really interesting. And like I said, the guy who plays the ex-cop, he does a nice job too. I mean, he's in the movie less, obviously, but and it's a little weird. They don't go much into his background, so you're kind of just sort of accepting the fact that he says at the beginning, "Oh man, I would love to solve that case that we never managed to solve back in those days." And that's all you get, really. And the rest of this is just him trying to get closer to her to figure out what the husband is doing to her, to figure out why. And it turns out interesting, and the very end scene it's pretty damn chilling. Surprisingly so for 1940. It's definitely worth checking out.
Where
What
did you
was that
find
on?
this?
Yep.
It's on YouTube. I found it on YouTube.
Okay.
Cool.
I have not tracked down a streaming version of the 1944 version, the Ingrid Bergman version. I will keep trying because I would like to see that.
Sounds like one to dig up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
Mm.
Some creepy shit at times. He's a nasty dude. The guy who plays the husband is also does a really nice job of playing a really nasty piece of work.
Like the sound of that.
That's all I got.
Alrighty. Les.
Well, let's see. I watched 3 major movies. One was Greedy People with Hamesh, actor from Yesterday. And second movie I watched was a favorite for our group, Cocaine Bear. That was kind of interesting.
So, how did the bear get on cocaine?
You want the spoiler? No, it's no spoiler. He is in the forest, and there's a plane flying over with huge bags of cocaine, and some guy is throwing them out the window or out the door. So they land in the forest, and the bear decides, "Ooh, I'll try this," and he kind of gets hooked. So,
It's like, let me smell it first, see if it's okay.
Yeah. And of
Oh,
course,
man.
you have those bad guys that are trying to find the cocaine to keep it. Ray Liotta is in this as one of the stars, and it's kind of fun. Now it's listed as a comedy. I don't see that it was a comedy, but it was amusing in spots. And as a result, I thought it was a little bit creepy at times.
I couldn't imagine a bear on cocaine. Bill watches that, what is it called? They throw them out in the middle of the woods, see how long they can last.
Getting afraid?
No. Alone. That's what it's called, yeah. And that's always the biggest problem is bears. So I couldn't imagine one being on cocaine and you're trying to get it away from your campsite.
Hey, boo-boo.
Yeah. I'd die trying to pet the thing.
Yeah, but that's your trouble. You caused that, young lady. The third movie I watched had Willa Fitzgerald in it. It's about a hookup that turns really bad, really sad. I highly recommend it. It's called, yeah. I'm so glad I can recall all of this stuff.
Never heard of the movie yet.
Well, that was a Beatles movie, but okay.
Okay.
Strange. Let me think now.
Brew?
No, that's too funny. That's one everyone should watch. But this movie was interesting.
Was it strange?
It's kind of creepy.
Strange Darling.
Thank you. Yes, Strange Darling. Kind of creepy, and Willa Fitzgerald played Deputy Roscoe in season 1 of Reacher. So I looked and I said, "Ooh, I know who that is."
I hear Roscoe and I automatically think of Dukes of Hazzard.
Nope, it's definitely not Roscoe.
Pico
Bang.
Train. Got your ears all fat, buddy. Scoop, scoop, scoop. Yeah, we're not 80s kids at all, are we?
Was there something wrong with the 80s or what?
Jim Best had a perfectly good acting career before that show.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
That was my introduction to him.
Well, sure. That was a lot of our introduction to him. But
But I highly recommend this movie. It was just, it's a movie that goes in 6 chapters. You had Ed Begley Jr., Barbara
Hershey.
Hershey, yes. Those are probably the two, to me, one of the 2 largest names in this. So yeah, if you get the chance, it's definitely worth the time to watch. And that's about it for me.
Interesting.
Okay. Not a lot on my end. I'm still, for some strange reason, binging on these videos on YouTube. I saw something on one of these dash cam videos that I had never seen before, and it scared the hell out of me. And then it ends with the most dumbest thing possible. Imagine yourself at an intersection. You're in the right lane, okay? And you're about to make a right turn. There is a car in the left turning lane who decides to make a right turn.
Now, are there 3 lanes or?
Well, there's 3 lanes and then the turn lane.
Okay.
So it's passing all those cars from the left turning lane to turn right, and then hits the car that's making a right turn. Here, the genius that's making the right turn from the left turn lane, his mom shows up, blames the victim for the accident.
Of course. Them boy moms, man. Phew.
You know from experience there, Liz?
Mm-hmm. I raised 2.
Wow. I sure wouldn't have admitted to it, but that's okay.
I wasn't as obsessive as some of them get.
Oh no, of course not.
But
Believe that 100%.
yeah.
That just watching that I was stunned. The rest of it I've seen over and over and over again, and unfortunately the whole roundabout thing there's a lot more videos of that. So apparently this is a big issue. People just do not understand the concept of the roundabout.
Mm-mm.
Which, hey, considering what else I'm watching, yeah, the whole concept of a roundabout just is mind blowing. So
Right. You're sitting in your house completely sober. Imagine being in the car and fucked up when you're trying to figure out how a roundabout works.
Right. When is your turn?
I don't. I'm pretty sure there's a good percentage of these people are not inebriated when they're trying to understand it. They're just freaking morons.
Yeah. That
Which
too.
is its own form of inebriation, but okay. Sure.
They have one in Firewheel, and I'll turn before we even get to it because it's like no. And I know how to drive in a roundabout, but not everybody else does. So
Yeah, I know.
it's like we won't even get my anxiety up there.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Interesting.
There was something else I was going to share. Oh yeah, I saw this discussion on Reddit earlier today, and it was funny because I hadn't thought about it till they brought it up. It kind of goes back to the discussion from a few weeks back where we were talking about Empire Strikes Back. Someone posted on the Reddit, asking why didn't Obi-Wan tell Luke about his sister? And of course, most of the responses is like George didn't think about it until Return of the Jedi. It was him retconning and all that. But the one response I was like, yeah, that's not really smart, is it? Was the guy says Obi-Wan and Yoda are disappointed, upset that Luke is breaking off training to go save his friends. But hey, that's okay. There's a backup plan. Leia, the person Luke is breaking off training to go rescue.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah. When your backup plan is being threatened, what are you supposed to do?
This one's not listening to you.
So, no, well. Anywho, on that note, let's go ahead and take our first break, and then we'll get into this week's discussion. Welcome back. We are continuing our month of classic TV. And if you were listening to last week's episode, you got a tease of what we're going to be discussing today. Thanks to someone that I will not mention their name.
Not going to let me get away with that one, are you?
Well,
You didn't give your name.
I didn't give name. I didn't give your name, yes.
Just glad it wasn't me this time.
Well, if this was a visual medium, I could be like pointing at Liz and not saying anything, but it's not. So
It wasn't me.
no, it wasn't.
So, but hey, you got me last week, so hey, it's all right. It works out in the end. So the show we were talking about today is Hogan's Heroes. Lasted what, six seasons? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's what I found.
Starring Bob Crane, Richard Dawson, obviously pre-Family Feud. We have Warner Clipper, John Banner, Robert Clary, Larry Holvis, Ivan Dixon, Kenneth Washington. And they never did explain what happened to Ivan Dixon, because wasn't he there first and then Kenneth Washington replaced him?
Washington was just there for the last season.
Right.
And apparently Ivan Dixon just didn't come back, and so they replaced him with some other guy who didn't even really look like him, but did the job.
Yep. And of course, this takes place at a POW camp during World War II.
That's Stalag 13.
Stalag 13. So let's talk a little Hogan's Heroes.
This one comes on every evening on MeTV.
Yep.
So we still watch this. Well, occasionally we still watch this one. I thought it was interesting. I didn't know that Kepler, Killim, I can't say his last name.
Klemperer.
Klink. Yep.
Yeah, Colonel Klink.
Colonel Klink and Sergeant Schultz actually were both Jewish. And the only reason
so was Robert Clary.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They said the only reason they agreed to even do the show is because they're like, they'll never succeed. He will never have a victory. So he's like, okay, I'll do that. And yeah, the other guy, Robert Clary, he was actually a Holocaust survivor, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a small child when he was in a concentration camp,
Hmm.
tattooed and everything.
So I thought that was kind of crazy. Not
Yeah.
crazy, but
Yep. It's a ballsy move, even 20 years later, to base a sitcom on life in a German war camp.
right.
Why ballsy? Why would you think it was ballsy to do that?
Because comedy is hard, and it's really easy for people to be offended by it.
Hmm.
And that was a very serious point in our history, and it was especially a very serious point in the in Europe's history. And this thing's set in Europe. It is set in a German war camp. I mean, how do you make that funny?
Well, Stalag 17 did so in a little of their run. In their movie, they had comedic scenes.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Which was honestly the main proof of concept for the whole thing.
Right.
The fact that it could be done at least once. It was ballsy for that too.
Well, I think they respected that time pretty well in this series too. I mean, yeah, they were in the middle of the war, but they never really talked about the war, if that makes sense.
I
But
mean, glance, yeah, it was tangential stuff, and there were things. I mean, they like bombed things, and they disrupted supply
yeah,
chains, and they did a bunch of stuff like that, and they got prisoners out.
but it was more about the story, not that was going on more in the background than what the story of the week was.
And it was done in a very much over the top manner. They were hamming it up in terms of the comedy, in terms of the Germans being bumbling and the Allies basically doing whatever they wanted to within a given rule set. I mean, they kind of, I think they did everything they could to hedge their bets on making something risky or dangerous. And in all fairness, it worked. It's a really good show.
Hmm. Now, was there a movie about Bob Crane? Didn't he die like pretty tragic?
He did, and there probably was. I don't, off the top of my head, know specifically, but yeah, he was like found beaten to death in his apartment a
Had
few
his
years
head,
after the
yeah,
a few years
has,
after the show ended.
if I remember correctly, had his brains bashed in by a camera tripod.
Damn.
Yeah, and that it was very mysterious because nobody really knew why. I mean,
Right.
if he was doing something underhanded, he was keeping it pretty secret. And if it was it seemed weird to be a wrong place, wrong time because he was in his own home when it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was some mystery involved.
Happens a lot in Hollywood, doesn't it?
Mystery?
Mysterious deaths.
It happens everywhere. It's just that we hear about it more in Hollywood.
Mm.
A lot more press coverage.
Yeah, it was one of those cases that was never solved. So yeah, it was pretty intense. Crane was known for doing some shady stuff. in his life. Sure. That's what it seemed. What I find interesting about the show is that it was one of those TV shows that did not get a movie.
Yeah.
McHale's Navy got a movie. Gilligan's Island got a movie or 8.
And then MASH spun off from a movie and got a movie.
Yeah, MASH had actually, the movie had come from a series of books too.
Yeah. Right.
Which
in
are
the
a great read.
mid 60s. Yeah, I've read the first one.
Was it Richard Hooker?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bewitched had a movie. Dream of Jeannie, I think, had a movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are a lot of movies. Even, well, the Addams Family had a movie. Munsters Go Home was a movie,
Mm-hmm.
but there was no movie for Hogan's Heroes, either at the time or even after.
Seems a pity, but I'm not sure it would translate well today.
No.
I mean, unfortunately, they'd probably try to turn it into some sort of Mission Impossible type thing, and it would just be silly.
Maybe like a PT 109 type story or something.
Right. It would be harder to do it as a comedy now.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
I agree.
So was this, I meant to look this up, but I didn't think about it. Was this like Richard Dawson's like American breakout thing? Or am I crazy?
No, I think you're pretty much on.
Because I know he had worked in the UK basically as a comedian.
And his wife was an actress.
Oh, that's right. He was in King Rat in '65, which is I remember reading that that's probably what landed him this role for Hogan's Heroes, but that's not a comedy either.
No, but it definitely is one movie to watch.
Yeah, it's an interesting story for sure.
Because that was the first one of Clavel's books that was made into a movie.
Right. It's an interesting book too. Oh, funny. That's funny. It's just that apparently Dawson had a minor role in Munster Go Home.
Oh.
I saw that too. And I'm glad he changed his name from Dick Dawson. Richard Dawson just sounds so much better than Dick Dawson.
Well, yeah. Yeah, if you go back far enough, you hear him referred to as Dickie Dawson, which I imagine he took a swipe at a few people for that shit. But
Right.
anyway.
Okay. I was remembering wrong.
What were you believing?
Well, I was thinking that the Devil's Brigade was before Hogan's Heroes, but it's after, or it's during the time, as it was 68.
Yeah. That would have been right in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Which that's a good movie. I love Devil's Brigade.
I have not seen that one. Interesting.
Well, you got William Holden, Cliff Robertson, Vince Edwards, Andrew Pine, Claude Akins, Richard Jekyll from The Dirty Dozen,
Mm-hmm.
Richard Dawson, just on and on and on. And it's a very impressive cast.
Cool. Might have to check that out sometime when I'm in a war movie mood.
Mm-hmm.
Does happen.
Well, I'm sure this was done on purpose, but last Friday being
D-Day.
D-Day, a YouTube suggested The Longest Day, so I sat there and watched that, which I've seen that several times, and that's an investment in time because that's almost a 3. But it doesn't.
Yep.
It really doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like 3 hours. It feels. It's a long movie, but I did not realize it was 258. So
It is aptly titled, that's for sure.
why did this show work for 6 seasons?
For 6 seasons, I really don't have an answer for you. I know my wife watches the reruns now, but she'll tell me that she'd never really thought about this show when it was on originally. I said, how could you not? It was there all the time. Every week it was another group of zany things that this, say, untalented, but they were pretty bogus in some of their thinking. How did you not see this show in its original run? She still can't give me a full answer for it. Lasted that long? I don't know.
I mean, it was funny. Admittedly, it was. I mean, it's hard for something not to be in a sitcom back in that time, but it was fairly repetitive. But it was funny. Bob Crane had a charm to him.
Yeah.
And he and Werner Klemperer played off of each other really well.
They did.
I mean, and Crane and John Banner played off of each other extremely well. I mean, something to keep in mind as we talk about Klemperer and Banner being really hesitant to take these roles because they wanted to make sure they were going to be not the good guys in any way. The Emmys that if I'm trying to find it, the Emmys that this show won were mostly for Klemperer.
Right.
Which is, I mean, kind of wild because he's technically the bad guy, but he was such a damn funny bad guy. He was just a total weasel. And I mean, in a sense, it's exactly what we all would love to believe about the Nazis. We want to think that they were all just shit-eating weasels, and that was why it was so easy to win the war, despite the fact that the war went on for years and years. So it's sort of easy. It's an easy illusion to fall into. And again, very much over the top humor. I mean, Carter was just such a doofus, and Newkirk was such basically a sleazeball. I mean, he was our sleazeball, but he was a sleazeball. And you get the LeBeau is a very stereotypical Frenchman. So you're playing on a lot of stereotypes in every direction in the show, which again makes it easier to buy. It's easier to buy into it that way. And I think 20 years on, people are. I mean, I called it a risky thing to try to make a comedy on this, but I think 20 years in, I think maybe some people were ready to laugh at the war a little bit. I mean, you've got your full generation past the war at this point. I think people were ready to. I think this was maybe part of moving on from it all. The idea that you can make it so ridiculous that people who remember the war can laugh at it, and that kind of by default makes it funny enough for the next generation to laugh at it too. I mean, there weren't a lot of shows like this at the time, and I think that's on purpose, but I think this just kind of had the right mix of stupid and crazy to just kind of work for a while.
But you mentioned stupid and crazy. Maybe maybe that's another thing. It's the fact that the people who are stupid or crazy are what we consider the bad guys. So it's kind of a way to feel better, So we're looking down at them.
Right. And yeah, it becomes almost a punching down thing a little bit, but in a good way, sort of. I mean, that sounds bad, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't so much we won the war as they lost it.
Right.
Because we were clever and brave. I mean, we're crazy too, but we're definitely not stupid. In the show.
In the show. Okay. In the show. Okay. I will give you that.
Yep. And we talked about Ivan Dixon and Kenneth Washington. Another thing this show is kind of famous for is they were black actors in key roles in a time when that did not happen.
Yeah.
So that's another reason that Hogan's Heroes has been kind of embraced, because it broke some ground in that regard, in a civil rights type way.
It's funny that you said that, because as you're talking about that, I was thinking about another show, same time frame, that had a black actor, and it was like both of them were in communications. Nichelle Nichols.
Strangely enough.
Interesting that they were both characters were doing communications? I hadn't thought about that until now.
Yep. It's not an in charge role, but it's a very important role.
But it's an important role.
Yep. And they were treated just like the rest of the crew.
Yep.
Just like people, even.
That's wild. I hadn't thought about that.
Pretty brave for 1965. Yeah, we talked about Ivan Dixon. I mean, we're still talking about Ivan Dixon, but without really knowing why he left the show, he actually went on and directed a bunch of stuff in the 70s and 80s. He starred in some. He had a few acting roles in the 70s, but was mostly behind the camera after that. So continued to kind of blaze trails.
When did McHale's Navy begin?
1962.
Hogan started in 65.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. McHale's Navy was 4 seasons. So a little bit of overlap.
Yeah. Interesting, though.
Yep. It has been a while since I have watched any of those shows. But as I recall, McHale's Navy didn't deal directly with the enemy. It was just American sailors on that show, essentially. Am I remembering correctly?
Well, they did have somebody, Japanese person, that would do things for them. Things or just be the small joke. He was never a real strong character. I'll agree that it was a lot of the guy stuff that they played on. Kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Also a good show.
Yep.
For sure.
Okay. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up and take another break? Definitely check it out if you hadn't.
Absolutely. Lots of fun stuff.
It is.
Yeah, don't
including
miss our
watching.
show. Go ahead.
I was saying, including watching Bob Crane constantly get the girl and Richard Dawson constantly not get the girl.
Yeah. Well, Dawson will make up with that in a few years later.
He will, for
He
sure.
did.
And Crane did marry one of his co-actors in the series. He married, who was it, Helga?
I don't remember what the character's name was.
Yeah, there were 2 of them, and they sort of swapped them out. There's Hilda and Helga or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Actually, it was Hilda that he married.
Dun, dun, dun.
But yeah, good show.
Mm-hmm.
Fun to watch. Not mind-bending, but interesting.
Yeah, and don't it might be another one that you might not want to try to binge a bunch of all at once, because like I said, the plots get a bit samey.
Yeah.
So I mean, you might watch a few at a time, but I wouldn't go much more than I would take a break after that.
I would agree with that.
You would agree with that last statement?
Mm. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break and be back with Geek News for you. And we're back, and it's time for Geek News for you. This segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. This week is Les and myself. And Les, would you go?
Thank you, sir. I will.
You're welcome, sir.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Sound like Chip and Dale, don't we?
That's what I was just thinking. Yeah.
My news item is that there are new owners at Warner's. So DC now has new ownership. And they have now established a 10-year plan for DC. DC will sit under the new group Streaming and Studios, which is owned by David Zaslav. They have plans, according to this article, about Superman and Supergirl. So, to me, this means this is major, because streaming services now will be heavier from DC, and in this way they will be able to put their product out there even more, which is a big boost to them. And I can only hope that they will do well in these. So I just hope that DC will be commended upon their usage in this. To me, it's a good thing, because this way they're not going to lose much ground. I've seen articles about their rivals, and somebody posted how DCU is falling behind and they're not giving us anything, and their last pictures were garbage. And I looked at the Marvel, their rival, and I said, well, can you really say that Marvel is outdistancing them? I know that Marvel now don't they have problems with Netflix? And therefore, they're not doing as well as they would like. Obviously, neither company wants to do as poorly as they're posted at this time. But I just had a feeling that that was a statement by somebody that was not exactly into what's going on. It sounded to me to be more of a person that has an opinion, but they don't have references. And the way I see it, with DC stepping forward and having some unimaginative people that were holding them back, but now they've got both new ownership and new writers and the like coming forward for their streaming and for the comics themselves. To me, that just means a lot more. So now, I'm not saying that Marvel is going to be broke by the end of the summer, because they've got a big movie coming up, and that's going to boost Marvel considerably. This was what, the third version of the Fantastic Four.
It's the third, yeah.
So hopefully it does well too.
Which I hadn't not realized it, but yeah, there's been a new movie every 10 years. The last one was 2015, and the one before that was 2005.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I mean, if I thought about it, because I mean that was part of the deal when Fox obtained the rights. They got to produce something within a certain number of years, otherwise they risk losing the rights. So
Yeah.
that's part of it. So
When was the Roger Corman version?
that was somewhere in the early '90s, and that technically was never released.
Right.
Sure.
It was not.
It was just done so they can maintain the rights, and then they just shelved it. The only way you can get it is from black market. I mean, it's out there
Sure.
if you want it, but it's going to be God knows what kind of generation.
Oh, I remember seeing it on VHS at cons back in the day.
Yeah. God knows what kind of generation copy it is,
Mm.
because it's been taped from a tape, from a tape, from a tape, from a tape, from a tape.
Right.
So it's a shitty quality, but yeah.
Most likely.
So yeah, if DC Studios actually has a game plan, it sounds like from what James Gunn has been mentioning off and on, that helps. That seems to be part of the problem they've been having all these years. It seems like there's some semblance of a plan, but there really isn't, and then it seems like they're reactionary too.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Guardians of the Galaxy comes out and say, "Oh, well, we can do something going to be humorous too." Something like that. We can do something like that. Blade comes out or Deadpool comes out, like, oh well, we can do rated R movies too. It's like, just don't worry about trying to just try to do a good project. That's it. Good writing, good casting. Everybody does their heart best to put out a good product, and then we'll see what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Worry less about making a movie to balance out Marvel
Yeah,
and more about making a good Wonder Woman movie
right.
or a good Justice League movie or a good Flash movie.
Which
Stop trying to react and make the movie that's already there. I mean, it's not like the material's not there.
right.
Yeah.
And speaking of Wonder Woman, James Gunn announced today that they're already starting to write up a script for a new Wonder Woman movie. That's the first time we heard anything. So
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll also be good to see them actually make a little more effort from the TV streaming
Mm-hmm.
side of things. Because, I mean, you talk about them being behind the eight ball on TV, on the streaming thing. It's not a question of how good or bad what they're doing is. The problem is that Marvel is just doing leaps and bounds more. I mean, Marvel's putting out series left and right, and we've had, what, 3 in the last 10 years from DC?
Series?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there
I
was
guess so
the
with
John Cena
Penguin,
one. What the hell
Yeah,
is that called?
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
that's
was.
the last one I know of.
And then they did Penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Penguin just wrapped up. We're gonna get
Okay.
Lanterns here soon.
Right. I mean, just
So
do stuff. That's the deal. Do stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stop waiting. I mean, I don't know what they're waiting for at this point.
Hmm.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's like they're afraid to make money or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't imagine that these people who run this mega corporation can't sit down and come up with a plan to make some money off of this stuff. It just blows my mind.
Well, with Gunn and Safran heading over to DC Studios, I'm probably naive, but I've got faith.
Right.
Me
It's the
too.
closest thing we have to hope at this point. So
Right.
we'll hope.
We have someone who's actually overseeing things, which is what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds like it's just somebody. Before it was just somebody at Warner Brothers, and God, that person's replaced in a couple of years, so you got someone else, and they may want to do different. That's not good.
Right. And other than beyond that, it's a committee, and the
Yeah.
committee's clearly not figuring out how to get it done. So,
Marvel's had Feige overseeing all of this for a decade or plus.
mhm.
And the guy
Not that
from
he's
Felicity, what's his name? Barview? Can't remember. John Barview, or he's the one who's
Favreau.
doing Favreau. Yeah.
The Star Wars stuff.
He's doing more of the Star Wars stuff than Marvel.
Yeah. Like series. So.
But he was big in the Iron Man movies.
Oh, he was
Yeah,
he was Happy
he
Hogan
had
in the Iron Man films, but
Right.
he's been doing more of the writing and under Star Wars. So
Yeah.
and there's some people that really wish there would be him and oh God, why am I blanking on his name? Creator of Rebels and did Clone Wars and Filoni.
Dave Filoni.
That both of them would head Lucasfilm. You know,
Right.
once Kathleen Kennedy leaves, that they would do it.
That
Which,
sounds like a good plan.
yeah, so, well, we'll see. So,
Yep.
well, it's good that they do have a plan. So
Even if the plan is to make a plan, that's fine.
right, yeah,
Just get on with it.
and just don't be reactionary. Plans change, and that's okay, and that's good, but just stop the whole reactionary thing. Just
Right. It's where you get that illusion of them lagging behind Marvel is because they're not just doing stuff. Just make a thing.
Yeah. Toss it out there. See what happens with the people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, that's what Marvel did with Guardians.
hell,
What they did with Iron Man.
I was about to say Iron Man was a risk.
Right. It was a big chance.
Well, so was Howard the Duck, but
Well, but that worked out differently now, didn't it?
and that was Lucas too.
Yeah.
Because Lucas was a big Howard the Duck fan.
And I hate to bring it up,
No,
but
go ahead.
Anytime DC tries to do anything, we have a certain fan base that comes along and review bombs it, starts creating bad press around it, and I mean, it's like a toxin that's followed ever since.
You're not wrong, and they're going to have to figure out a way. I mean, that's just the deal. The deal is they're going to have to, if they put out a series of even halfway decent movies and TV shows, all of that will die down.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, I think they're on the right track right now because I don't know if you've been hearing the reports, but the advanced tickets for Superman have already started, and they've already reported like Fandango, and the website's crashed.
Wow.
Because of people going online buying tickets.
Sweet.
So there's a lot of people who want to go see this as film. Now the question is, are they going to go back the second weekend? Are they going to go back the weekend? Are they going to go others and they go the
right.
That's the trick. But right now,
we can't know that yet. But
we won't know that yet until it actually gets here. But all signs sounds like it's going to be pretty massive opening weekend.
cool,
So
good.
Well, speaking of movie, I'm going to continue my trend of unexpected movies. This just came out a few days ago. This was a item on new Deadline. Warner Brothers and Good Feeders and Cloud Co. are getting together, and they've already hired Josh Greenbaum to direct a Care Bears film.
Huh. No. Now, is this going to be a Care Bears film like Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse and?
Well, I mean, Cloud Co. owns the rights, so I mean.
So probably not.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not gonna be a public domain thing. So
you want to make this
my
interesting?
childhood is safe.
Make it. You want to make this interesting? Make it a live action and Bears.
Well, and that's the thing. It doesn't mention whether or not it's going to be an animated film or if it's going to be live action.
Huh.
So it doesn't even have a right. It doesn't even have a writer as of this news report.
So it's Cocaine Bears 2.
So they're announcing that they're thinking about wanting to make a Care Bears movie.
And this is something I don't remember this, but Josh. Some people may remember this name, but his next movie is a sequel to Spaceballs.
Oh Lord.
Which probably go as well as History of the World Part 2 did.
More than likely. That's disappointing.
It disappoints me because it's so long after the first one. It's been too long a time.
Well, same thing with History of the World Part 1.
That's true. Yeah.
This I don't remember. Care Bears were originally greeting card characters in the 1980s by America Greetings.
Okay.
Which is now Cloudco. Each bear had a distinct color and a belly badge that symbolized their personality and duty, with names like Tenderheart Bear, Cheer Bear, and Grumpy Bear.
You said duty.
Yeah.
Duty.
But
I knew that.
Oh, go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, weren't they a owner, or they were in the comics by Marvel?
I knew they had a comics, but I don't remember. It probably was Marvel.
Could have been.
Of course, there was the cartoon show too. 3 theatrical films from mid to late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
All animated, of course.
Yes. Yeah. I was totally kidding about the live action thing.
They could.
They could.
I mean, we just yeah, well, yeah, and Lion King and Dumbo and all that kind of stuff. They could do the same damn thing that way.
Yeah,
I've seen ads for live action How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, my sister wants to go see that. Yeah, that's supposed to come out here pretty quick.
I very much question whether they got a real dragon for that, but I digress.
Don't put it past them. I mean, they did make Stitch real.
They could use a bear and just put like dragon scales on them, and it would be fine.
Like the dogs in Taming, or the Killer
The
Shrews.
Killer Shrews, yeah.
In 2024, Care Bears franchise had $470 million global retail sales
Holy crap.
That's not bad for 40 years on.
and over $10 billion in lifetime retail.
Baby's into them.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know
Well,
it's
I mean,
good.
if this is successful, are we going to see what was it? Was it Thai babies?
Oh, the Beanie Babies?
Beanie Babies. We
Yeah,
can get
Thai
a
was the
Beanie Babies.
company.
Right, Beanie
We
Babies.
could.
I don't know. I don't think they ever had a cartoon or anything outside of just the stuffed
Yeah.
animals.
That doesn't mean they wouldn't do a
They
movie.
might try, right?
Crazier
True.
things have happened.
That's true.
I mean,
We
we
did a
got
Garbage Pail movie.
Barney.
We're not talking about Barney.
Yeah,
Well, you were talking about bears, weren't you?
You love me.
We saw all that about them rebooting that series and everything else. Never saw anything else like on TV, or maybe they rethought it, or
Or maybe
figured it'd
it's
be
caught
too
up in
many
production hell.
bills. Yeah.
I don't know. Whenever someone mentions Barney, I think about the episode of Beavis and Butthead where they were watching a scene from Barney, and Barney was putting something in the oven and
His hands.
his hands caught on fire. Oh, this sucks. Alrighty. Any special shout outs or mentions this week?
Not me,
No.
Nothing here.
Okay, we will move on to our regular shout outs. First of all, I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture for allowing us to be a part of a great little podcast network. We recommend that you check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. Speaking about other podcasts, we want you to check out the fine men and women who have been kind enough to spread the word of the fellowship on Twitter by retweeting our links. They're better known as Podern Family. The best way to check them out is to do a search, #Podern Family. That's all one word. Just scroll through, and whatever catches your eye, by all means, click on that link, download the episode, and we hope you have a great time listening to them. I want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to the podcast. In our show notes, there will be a link to where you can check out some of their other fine music. And thank you, dear listener, for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website and go to the About Us page, and there's a contact fill out. We do have a Discord that you can join, and you can post your thoughts there. We do have a section specific feedback, or if you just want to hang out with us, that's fine. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, to laugh at, stuff to trailers. We'll have some activities on there like game night, movie night, that type of stuff. So if you want to come hang out with us, by all means do that. Sign up for Discord is free. The apps are free in the App Store. We do have an open invitation on our homepage. Social media wise, on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. On Instagram, Twitter, and Bluesky, we're at Fellowship Geeks. And if you'd like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_Geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at Tom TC Geek. and from wherever you download our episodes. If you'd be so kind enough as to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We appreciate the support as always. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,